Hey, my name is Justin, and I am a son of God and an addict. And thanks to my God, the steps, and the fellowship of other addicts, I'm sober one day at a time since June 19th, 2015. And for that, I am beyond grateful. Welcome to the RECO12 speaker meeting. We are an organization whose addictions include alcohol, drugs, lust, and sex, food, and gambling, just to name a few. We come together from all places, faiths, and backgrounds to learn the similarities of addiction and to gain tools and hope from others who are walking a similar path. We invite recovering addicts with at least 1 year sobriety and who are actively working their recovery in their respective fellowships to share their experience, strength, and hope on a live Zoom webinar each Friday at noon Central Time for 20 to 25 minutes. Then we, the live audience, get the opportunity to ask questions of that speaker for another 20 to 25 minutes. If you are hearing this meeting in recorded podcast format and would like to participate as a live audience member in the future, please go to RECO12.com, that's RECO12.com, to learn more and to submit your email address to there to receive weekly invitations. RECO12 is a self-supporting service, and we appreciate your help in keeping us working our Step 12 in this manner. We gratefully accept contributions to help cover the costs of the Zoom platform, podcast platform, web hosting, and administrative costs. To contribute, you can go to RECO12.com/support, or you can click the link to PayPal that'll be here in the live meeting and also in the show notes of the podcast. When you contribute, please specify the meeting number. This is meeting number 58. Now, last week's meeting was with Kevin M., and he spoke on slowing the game down in recovery. If you missed hearing that energy-filled meeting or any other meeting we have done, you can listen to them in podcast form by searching for RECO12 Speaker Meeting Podcast on virtually any podcast platform that you use, or you can go to the RECO12 website and find it under the link podcast. One more word about our speakers before we introduce today's speaker. When we line up a speaker for a meeting, we ask them to seek guidance on what and how to present so that they can reflect the light they have been given. That light will inspire hope, meaning, worth, and growth in each of us, the listening audience. Now, let's introduce our guest speaker for today, Nick P., who will be speaking to us on the missing piece of recovery. Here's a little bit about him. Nick P. is an educated, agnostic professional who wanted to fit in culturally and professionally by drinking, drugs, and sex. When he tried to stop on his own, he learned just how powerless and unmanageable his life had become. He resorted to self-education and self-knowledge to quit, and that did not work. He finally turned to rehab and found the 12 steps of recovery there. He will be sharing about the missing piece of his recovery. Nick, take it away. The floor is yours.
Hi, I'm Nick P., and I am an grateful member of 12-step groups, specifically AA, SA. Today, thank you, Justin, for inviting me to share my message of hope and strength. And specifically, there are millions of messages that run around, similar messages in our 12-step meetings. But there is one part that I found that in my area, specifically, I come from Toronto, Canada, Brampton area. A lot of things that I see in the meetings, people I have learned in early recovery and still do that. Very clearly, everybody talks about they have a firm grasp on the fact that we alcoholics or we sex alcoholics who suffer from an allergy of the body and obsession of the mind. And that's true and very applicable to every one of us who can relate with us. But me having to understand and absorb the criteria and the understanding of the allergy of the body and the obsession of the mind got me not too much far in my recovery. And let me rewind back a little bit. So I have an East Indian background, Punjabi background, came to Canada for pursue my higher educations at one of the top universities in Canada. And I have been a self-made man, studied on scholarships, got a lot of jobs and I was able to still get part-time jobs to send money back home to support my family. Uh, Hardworking, smart guy, agnostic to a sense because these prayers have been futile because I lost my younger brother to cancer, and that's where I lost my faith. But anyway, life continued on. And when I came to Canada, it was a cultural shock for me, not just because of the language issue, but cultural issues. The games that I play back in India, like cricket and stuff, is not talked about. It's replaced with baseball and ice hockey and stuff. It's really hard. And the cultural differences, just to, some, I got ripped off a lot, especially when I take my girls out for lunch or dinner. I would end up spending money for their groceries, for everything, because I thought it was a culturally unfit for an Indian to have a girl pay for their groceries and stuff. So it's a lot of things that happened in my life, just to give a little, bring some lightness. So I tried to fit in with the new culture in Canada by doing what other students were doing around me. But again, I was with the blessings of God, the higher power. I have been an intelligent person, logical person who had developed an analytical, logical mind through the education system in India and in Canada. But again, that did not fill in that void that I felt when I came to Canada. And so that void was filled in. I tried to fill that gap with my intelligence by scoring A plus grades in my exams and stuff. But that did not last too long. And I succumbed to drinks. And with drinks, my inhibitions were lifted and I was sexually more open. So then I started using sex as a drink, and actually it's a combination of both. Drinking and sexting, lusting go hand in hand for me. And but the thing that changed in my whole life was when I was introduced by a few girls the drugs into my life, and that really kicked me out of balance, because drinking, drugging, and sex, very deadly lethal combination for me. But it did not uh, occur to me at that point, because I was in, what do you call that, cloud nine at that time, enjoying the life, fitting in very well, being talked about person, not just as a geeky, intelligent person, bookish person, but a lively person that brings life to the party, brings. Uh, so I don't know that time period how that stopped, but again, after graduating from university, the same concept continued, and I got very good jobs in Fortune 500 companies, top 5, 10 companies of US and Canada. Didn't hang on to jobs more than a few years. Started my own business, did good progress, couldn't hang on to that for a long time as well. Uh, so ultimately, I had uh, been warned by my family, by my wife, my parents. Even I could tell my kids were so scared to see me when I come back home or will not come back home. And they were waiting for me when dad will pick up the call and will come back, or in what condition will he come back or not. So all those things were clear. I kept on denying them, refuting them, trying to tell myself, no, 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 they guys have the wrong impression. I can stop whenever I want. So I made some oaths, some resolutions, promises to my family and also to myself, right? And I was very honest in that moment. But at that time, the only power that I had was my own self-confidence, my own willpower to overcome this problem of addiction, this disease of addiction. because I had not had much knowledge about it. So I said, okay, if I couldn't stop it. So I thought that, okay, because I have no knowledge about how to stop. So I started talking to people, gathering self-knowledge from the people who were still using, sexing, and, lusting and drinking. And they've been to different rehabs and, different people. But again, it was like, I remember there was one girl and a guy, and three of us were partying. And then we had our first session of hedonistic experience. And then we took a pause in between, having, something to eat, get energy before the second episode starts. And the girl is telling me that, oh, these drugs are bad, drinks are bad, we should never do it. I don't even offer to me now. I said, okay, I was about to throw that away or use it to ourselves. And she said, oh, okay, let's do it. I said, what the hell? You just told me no. And, and now within a second, you said, oh, okay, don't waste it. I'll put it in my body. That was an awakening experience for me, because I have been doing the exact same thing. And so at that time, a few years I struggled to get my life back, but I could not. I was able to get few weeks, maybe a month, 2-3 months, gaps in between, that gave me some more self-confidence, because I'll start charting out my recovery time in between each relapse, right? The analytical mind that kicked in. So finally, I got sick of relapsing, trying to win this hour by myself. And I knew that I need to seek outside help. And outside help, because, would be, only outside help I could find was my family doctor. And he said, I'm an addict, I'm an alcoholic. I said, no, I'm not one of those. I know a few people like those. I'm not one of those. I still have cars, I still have family, I still have properties, I have, assets. Everything is okay, but I know I need to stop, because what happened is, for my own, the luster and the enjoyment that I used to derive from drinking and drugging and sexing had faded away. Like I will go out on a retreat, why I'm calling it retreat. I'm going for a 7-day spree or a 10-day spree somewhere in Mexico or in Cuba or Dominican Republic, Bahamas, anywhere, thinking that I'm going to, use little bit and gonna go out, enjoy 7 days, gonna do scuba diving, gonna do this and that. What happens at the end of day 6? I've been stuck in that hotel room, cleaning the hotel room with a girl in my, in a prison, and enslave myself. And then I found that, oh, what the hell just happened? 7 days passed by. That could be wrong. It's only 1 day. So I was not getting, so it was obvious to me. So I had to finally, many other 100 reasons I gave to myself before I admit myself to rehab. But I think that was one of the best decisions I have ever made in my life. Rehab, I have to put myself into private rehab, because, free things have not worked in my life in the past. Because I have tried spiritual retreats, I have tried religious centers, treatment centers, I have tried changing my environment, moving to a different country, churches and temples did not work. So in rehab, when I had to spend thousands of dollars, I had one thing in my mind, that was my greed to get the value for my money. And so by spending 5 or 6 weeks and having a lot of resentment against my own treatment team, because I was thinking it's going to be more like a spiritual treatment, I'll get massages on a day, blah, blah, blah. But it was contrary, totally opposite of what I thought it was. But ultimately, after spending few weeks and spending few $1,000s, 3 things I learned there. Number 1 is I need outside help, and the help is available in AA. Second, go find yourself a home group and a sponsor. And third, go to 90 meetings in 90 days. That's it. That's all I got. And also they helped me with what I know now is kind of somewhat of step 1 and step 2, because they broke it down into my life is unmanageable, because they did a different approach. They talked about 4 L's. how my life is getting unmanageable in the field of, first L was liver, basically my health. Second L was for my livelihood, my financial stability. Third L was for love, for my relationships, unmanageability. And the fourth L was for legal, all these legal problems that I have racked up. So that hit home. And because these things were very obvious to me, but putting them on pen and paper really helped me. Yes, my life has become unmanageable. And why it is unmanageable? Because every time there is an obsession of the mind, right, that leads me to drink or to my object of craving, or what do you call it, drug of choice, and that would not let me get out that vicious cycle of unmanageability, because I will fix things up in 1 to 3 months, trying make promises and then fuck them up over again. I needed to get out of that cycle and find a tangent, which I found in AA. So I did exactly what rehab told me, and I had signed them some sort of a guarantee that this program works. If it doesn't work, then there will be some kind of refund. So I told them, no, I'll do what you want me to do, but I know it's not going to work. So with that attitude, I started going to AA meetings, attended 90 meeting 90 days, found a home group, found a temporary sponsor, another sponsor, and worked my steps. So it took me about 7-8 months to do everything. And things have been improving physically and everything. My life has started to turn. External factors that I could see in terms of my health, in terms of me now going to play sports again, being able to stay in company of people without craving drink, or be able to speak without much of an hesitation. But it was progress, not perfection. So once I think I did all my steps by about month 7 and 8, and then my sponsor said, go find somebody else, like do step 12. So step 12 came in different forms, like setting up chairs, speaking arranging speaking, taking calls, newcomers to the meetings, and then I started sponsoring, walking somebody through the steps as well. That did not go that well, because my prospect kept relapsing, and that really did not help me a lot. So I said, you know what, I'm not going to do that, but I'll still, stay around AA. So I have done everything what AA has told me, my sponsor has told me, but I don't know why did I relapse at about month 9 and 10? I relapsed right after 1 or 2 months after I have done each and everything that I was supposed to do, I was told to do. Where was that, what we call that, the blind spot, the mental blank spot kicked in. And I had no like cloud on the horizon at that time that I was going to relapse. I thought I'm okay. I was making plans to expand my business or whatever. But at that time, I knew that there was fucking something is missing in my recovery. And I really needed to get to the root cause. And I really needed to know, what did I miss in last 9 months, 8 months? What was it? And I was very feverish about it. And I don't know where to go. Then I ended up in a workshop, which was hosted by, now he's my sponsor, Cameron F. He walked me 12 steps in 4 hours again. But the key part, how he took it, the one thing that really, and after a few meetings, I found that like I said, this is a threefold disease. It's not just body and mind, but also a disease of our spiritual condition. What we call in our big book is spiritual malady. So I agree that in the before, I do understand how the phenomena of craving works, the mental obsession, which is the part of the disease, leads me to the first drink. And then when the first drink or first lusty look will trigger that phenomena of craving, and then I would not be able to stop it, right? I understand. So what I've been hearing is stay away from the first lusty look or second lusty look. Stay away from the first drink, because once I start drinking or lusting, I will not be able to stop. And why? And then, so I need to work something. So my mental obsession leads me to that. So now the question is, if I do the root cause analysis, what causes the mental obsession? Why in the first place I have that obsession? Because I know that the obsession has dissipated after 8-9 months. It was not as severe as it was in early recovery. A few days where I was struggling every hour, every few hours. If I see something on somebody drinking, using on the TV, somebody talking about it, will trigger me. But after 9 months, it wasn't like that. And I have heard in meetings that why these people, I keep hearing that they've been abstinent from alcohol and any other behavior, but they have relapsed after 5 years of recovery, 10 years of recovery, and sometimes after 20 years of recovery. Why? So I wanted something that is, I didn't want that. So why this long periods of sobriety lead me back into theft? Because I really need to fix in, because what's stopping me on relapsing again after 1 year from now? What's stopping me from relapsing? So finally, I found that when we do the step 5, it's not talking about that life has become unmanageable. The unmanageability is twofold. One is the external unmanageability that I just talked about, liver, livelihood, love, and legal problems. And then there is internal unmanageability, which is the how my emotions, internal manageability, I have created my own, like my loneliness, my liability, my lifelessness, my laziness, language, loss of vitality, all kind of many of fears that create restlessness, irritability, and discontentment in my life. Because if I take care of that, because that's what internal unmanageability for me was, what was the symptom of my spiritual malady. So my spiritual malady that I had, if I do not treat that, the inner core of me, I do not have that awakening that we're talking about at a spiritual level, not physical or mental level. At a spiritual level, I will not be able to straighten out myself mentally or physically. So I will stay as a dry trunk. I will be staying in fears for all my life, rational, irrational, or primal, what kind of fears. I do not want to have that life full of boredom, depression, anxiety, dry trunk. I don't want that. So I really needed to treat that. So how do I treat that? What's the remedy? So remedy now comes from an understanding in place, because that's where my step 3, my higher power, comes in place. But again, God helps those who help themselves. So I really needed to do my part of the deal so that my higher power could do its part. So my part of the deal was, I need to look for the symptoms of this third layer, the spiritual malady, because I have always been looking at my physical, that, okay, I'm losing money, I'm losing health, I'm losing stamina, right? That was too far. That was the layer that I, at a point where it's so hard for me to stop. So I needed to go to the root cause, which is watching myself, not for my physical and mental symptoms, but my spiritual symptoms, basically the third layer, which tells me that will trigger the second layer, the mental obsession, that will trigger the first layer, which is the physical energy. So now I'm too far gone. So I need to work on the third layer, that deep within my subconscious. And how do I do that? Because I don't have access. I have not had, I have not turned Buddha yet. I have not Jesus. So how do I do that? But I am aware enough. I have found that awareness through different meditation techniques, but I can always find out when I am being restless, when I'm being irritable, when I'm having started to do relationships problems, when I start exerting my ego, impatient, my uncontrollability of my emotions, being myself suffering from depression, misery, and using other people for my own self-seekingness. Yeah, that's what it was. Selfishness, self-seekingness was the root of all our troubles. That was the key. But it just looks very good as a slogan, but when we needed to put that into action, it was a different story. And that's where, I had any other option No, or I could continue like other people have been doing. I've been doing external manageability and not work on the inner manageability, and then stay in that fear to be open to relapse for another month or so, another year or few years. I don't know. But I wanted something that will not end up me in a mental institution, because I know the more I relapse, I'm gonna, lead me to mental institution, death, and I don't know what are the three things they talk about in a 3 minutes. Thank you. So I look out for those symptoms. And once I started doing, and that was with the help of step 10 a lot. When I was doing step 10 multiple times a day and doing a lot of mini inventories, I put my focus. I used inventory system where there are 5 columns. I used in the I found the power which is greater than the obsession of mind, that is, can help me eradicate the spiritual malady, was found in the principles of the program. So that means accepting to live on an altruistic plane where I am putting other people's needs before my needs. And most of the times, I'm not even working on my needs, it's mostly my wants. That's what I found out later on. So if I could pursue these simple principles of honesty, for forgiveness, love, compassion, tolerance that seek from others when I mess up in my life, be granted to other people as well. My life straightens out slowly. It's the karma thing. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So if I show forgiveness to other people are more forgiving to me. So when I started practicing these on a multiple times daily on a basis, I found that those promises that step 9 has been talking about started to unfold in my life. And it was hard. It was really hard for me, because when you do I take any action based on my character defects, action and reaction happen immediately. But when I have to work on the principles, like do an action out of humility, do an action out of compassion, action happens, but I sometimes have to wait few days, few weeks to see a reaction. So that's where the patience kicked in. And again, my last message, or my hand-held fold, my request, my urge to all members who are listening, or the members who will listen in the future: keep coming to AA meetings, but do not just stay at the external manageability. External manageability, the life will get better. You will get back your jobs. You'll get back the respect of your family. You'll get back your cars, driving licenses, or whatsoever. But again, we have been born here to live. Whatever we could pack into the stream of life, to be rocketed into this fourth dimension, the higher plane that big book talks about, that can only be possible if we fix our inside, fix our spirit, the spiritual malady. Because once we take care of spiritual malady, the mental obsession and physical energy, they never kick in. They never get triggered. And by doing this, I'll have to do it many, many times. And it's very, very key that we do these spiritual step 10 or step 5 also in care of somebody who has already have overcome this malady, because our mind, the selfishness, the ego, may use different rationalization and techniques to rationalize our defects as virtues. So, which is wrong. So I think for me, once I found that missing piece, which was the spiritual part, the spiritual malady, and I found the power greater than the powerlessness and the unmanageability that has been created by alcohol and my reaction to the life, I straightened out bodily, mentally, and spiritually. Now I have keep looking for my spiritual malady symptoms on a daily basis. My life has turned 180 degrees. My wife is so happy. My kids, they always crave to spend time with me. My older son is just going to university now. He was coming back to me to get different suggestions, what program to take or not to take, and making sure that I have money to pay him. A lot of things. My parents are loving. They moved in with me. Those issues between my wife and my mom have dissipated. I don't know. The things that I have not even asked my higher power, my God, to give me, he has unfolded 100 million times more than what I wanted. Again, it's not wanted, it's need. So with that, I'll pray for each and every one of us to find the cure for the spiritual malady, the inner unmanageability that causes us to act in such a way, creating situations that we seek or we crave the effect that's produced by alcohol, sex, or drugs. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Nick. I really appreciate your message there. Some good stuff in there. Now, a reminder to our live audience, if you have questions for Nick, please type them in the Q&A link at the bottom of your Zoom window, and I will get to those. I've written down several questions here also that we'll be asking Nick here to get answers from. But before we get to that, Nick, would you mind taking about 60 seconds and just sharing about the fellowship you gain from AA or whatever other fellowships you attend? How do those help you?
Absolutely, because it does. For the newcomer, this is an absolute necessity, because when I went to AA and I went to SLAA memberships a lot. I also went to NA, but I stuck around more with AA and SA memberships. How it helped me that, because in early recovery, if a thought would come in my mind, that would trigger me. A dream would come in my mind, a using dream or, lusty dream or whatever. I would analyze this to so much depth that I would trigger myself. So I wanted, and that was too much for me. So I really needed somebody to talk to and break it down for me and learn from their experience that dream is dream, the thought is thought. Look, it has moved on. Everything that shall pass too. That was my mantra. So all these things and keeping things simple. So having this fellowship of people who have been, it's like, for example, if I have I need advice about investments, I would not go to a dentist, right? So if I need advice about alcoholism or sex alcoholism, I would go to people who have overcome that. So I found not just coaches, sponsors, but so many people that would share without any judgment to me. And now after about 3 years, going to the same meetings over and over again, we have developed friendship beyond those fellowships. It's not just limited to alcoholism anymore. We go play sports together. We go, advise their kids each other. It has grown into a friendship. And those friendships which have the common problem and found the common solution. It's based on honest, and it's very, very different. I really nurtured that, and I think everybody in this program should reap the benefits of not just getting the alcoholism, but also developing lifelong friendships.
Awesome. Yeah, I've heard that connection is actually the opposite of addiction. So when we connect with others, especially those who have walked and continue to walk a similar path to us, I think that's very helpful. So thank you for sharing that. All right, so let's get to some questions here for you, Nick. Reminder to the audience, type those in the Q&A window at the bottom. And I'll start off with one of the questions that really jumped out at me when you were sharing this. You mentioned 4 L's. Can you please review those 4 L's and maybe give us a little bit of an example of each of those 4 L's in your life?
All right. So the 4 L's that, thank you, Justin, that's a good one. It stayed with me in the rehab because they will let us talk about this almost on a daily basis for 5 days. So they talked about, these are the 4 L's. L is for liver, basically the health issues. So how my body was affected by chronic use of alcohol, sex, and drugs. Yes, I had a lot of stamina issues, My lethargy levels were high up. I was either sleeping 18 hours a day, or when I'm high and using, I am awake 7 days in a row. That had taken a toll on my body. I was at a risk of developing what is that disease? Hepatitis something. And of course, with the gate of grass, I don't know how I got it. I had too many risks of developing STDs and other anything to do with body. My hands, my arms, my legs, they have so many muscle cramps. I have developed some chronic illnesses like, that are not, I have to take medication for the rest of my life. Second is the livelihood. Livelihood basically, I have this body, but I need money to nourish this body. So how do I make money? So in terms of me, my livelihood was based on my rental revenues because I own some rental properties and I have some investment portfolio. And so all those, with the grace of God, my income was most likely 3 or 4 times of my expenses before addiction. So, and the ratio shifted where I was spending more money on my addiction than I was actually making, either by various reasons. Everybody has some. So my financial balance sheet has turned into negative, and that was ongoing for years and years. I kept losing a lot of assets because I would not pay various utilities on time. So my financial condition was so hit hard that my love of my life, my kids and my wife got scared. They wanted to write will. We have started having fight about this guy going to spend it all on his addiction and, on his concubines or whatever. They really wanted me to write a will and have a piece of, so that really affected my third L, which is love. My relationship took a halt. Of course, not to mention that that was hurt really badly. Of course, financially, and also are probably not able to be physically present for the family when they needed it. And that led to the fourth L, which is the legal problems. So my wife now talking about divorce, want protection for kids. They don't want to see me, having these fits. On top of that, legal problems with my business associates, because now my way was the highway. So I want my business associates to meet me at the time, at the terms and conditions I dictate, not them. That led me into many broken business relationships, leading to a lot of lawsuits, which I happily would tell them, hey, I'm suing you, right? And then I'm using and I forgot about that. The other party has sued me, and then I go back and make it worse and not show up on the court date. So it caused me more legal problems. So that was the 4 L's.
Awesome. I love that. And I in my mind, and I just wrote this down, that's kind of like a loser list, things that I have lost. I've lost my health, my liver, as you put it, my livelihood, my love, and my, and legal issues. And that's easy to put into a list of, look at everything that I've lost because of my addictions. I am truly powerless, and my life has truly become unmanageable by listing out these 4 L's. Thank you for sharing that. All right.
And absolutely. Yeah. And Justin, the whole thing is these are, great. These are very good indicators of my life, so that will trigger me to make a change, right? To accept and then look for a power greater than myself. But the internal unmanageability, the other L's that I coined myself, were my loneliness, right? It's a disease of isolation. We know that, right? My liability, rather than me being an asset, I have become a liability on my family, on myself, on my all relationships that are either relationships, family relationships or non-family relationships. And the ultimate reason for me using alcohol, drugs, and sex was to have a life of freedom, right? Life of adventure, life of peace of mind, something. And I've lost it all. So I have become the third L, which is lifeless. I lost it. I lost ambition, self-confidence, self-improvement, self-control, emotional insecurity, security, that intelligence, the mental equity, all these, the other inner unmanageability, the self-respect, forget the respect from others, my own respect to myself. I have lost so much. These are the things that I really needed to take into these other L's of internal manageability for me to actually put a, you know, like exclamation that really needed for me, so that my other four, if I take care of these ones, my other four, lever, livelihood, love, and legal, they fit into place by themselves. I don't even have to care about those. But if I start fighting the other external parts of trying to fix my legal problem, trying to fix my relationships, trying to fix my livelihood or my health, without taking care of the internal manageability, I keep making it worse. So yeah, sorry, I just wanted to touch base on the internal 4Ls: loneliness, liability, lifeless, and loss of laziness, languishness, whatever. I don't know.
Love it. So I was actually going to go there on my next question and ask about the external versus the internal unmanageability and a few examples. And I think you gave some good ones. I love the 4 L's on each of those. I'm definitely going to dig into that in my own thoughts and studies and try to understand that better. Thank you for sharing that. All right. Another question that I have.
Because I found out that if I do not take care of the internal manageability, I am leading a double life, you know what I mean? And then, I really needed to live on a, what do you call that? Honest platform, right? And that was not possible for me, because I was just lying it to myself. And who's going to get hurt from that is myself and the people who are dependent or in love with me. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Towards the beginning of your talk, you talked a little bit about the void that could not be filled with, sex. Sex was one of them, but starting off with school, with doing well in school, with drink, with drugs, with sex, with work, etc. Now, you've touched on this, but give us a few examples of how you fill that void now, because I don't think that void went away, did it?
Right. So let's touch on. So while I am in a classroom, I did not feel that void. That voice was filled by me raising my hand before any other student in the class would do. Hey, I know the answer. I know the answer. So all the heads will turn to me. Oh, this guy knows, and he has finished his assignment before anybody else has done. No problem. So I was like, but outside the classroom, how do I get other people to turn head towards me? That was the void that I've been feeling, because I always came across as a studious person, but somewhat arrogant, and not being a success with girls in the past until the alcohol come in my life. And I saw, wow, so now I can turn girls' heads, not just based on my mathematical, logical, physics, chemistry, whatever, those engineering assignments, but also based on who I am as a person outside the classroom. So that the alcohol started giving me that confidence, but that confidence gave me attraction, put me in the center of the party, and caused probably more self-centeredness. So actually, instead of filling up the gap, it was creating that void even more deeper and deeper. Right. And I needed more and more alcohol, needed more and more sex and more drugs to fill up that void after a few years. Right. And to a point where it turned into a, like a sinkhole that cannot be filled at all. And the only way was to look deep into it. Right. And trying to fill up with rather than objects and subjects of addiction, but with the spirituality, right? Be okay with what I am, right? That's what accepting me as I am. And I really needed all those attention, right? After 20 years from that point, while I'm getting a lot of attention from my wife, my kid, do I really need to make sure that the girl who lives in the third house for the fourth block from here, what she's thinking about me or not, right? It really didn't matter. You know what I mean? It was accepting a life on life terms, that the void somehow filled by itself. I do still have those little bit of reminiscences, or it's that the flame that flickers before it dies out. Sometimes it happens, but again, I got a program for that now. I got a program buddy. I can have that friendships that will understand that will talk me through it, help me go back into my higher power, or go back into the principles of the program that I need to principle, and remember that this shall too pass. Nothing stays forever. Everything changes. It's the law of nature, impermanence. So if my high moments have not lasted forever, my low moments will not last forever.
Awesome. Thank you, Nick.
Oh, so yeah, the void is so big. I probably take my lifetime to fill it up. But again, I don't even try to fill it up anymore. I just try to live the life.
Very good. I really like that approach to it. All right. I have one more question. If there's any other questions from the audience, please type them in the Q&A. After we get through these questions, we'll wrap it up here. So my next question, early in your talk, you talked about, you said, something to this effect: I'm not one of those people. And I remember when I was first working my steps with my sponsor, I was sitting down with him after attending, several in-person meetings, and I turned to him and I said, "Hey, sponsor," and this is a guy who had 28 years sobriety at the time and was just a rock solid person in his own walk of recovery. And I said, "Look, if these bozos can do this, I can do this." I still didn't see myself as one of those people, and he turned to me and he goes, "Justin," and he laughed. He goes, "If those are all bozos, I am the biggest bozo driving the bozo bus that there is." And that kind of opened my eyes to the fact that, I am one of those people, and it's okay. So, so how does one accept that one is one of those people in the rooms of recovery?
That's just to understand. Basically saying that how would I not fit in with that? Oh, those guys are drunkard bozos and I'm not. I'm better than them. Yeah, I think that was the pride issue, right? The false pride that I have brought to myself based on my past laurels of my life. And it's vanity, right? Basically for me. And because I always thought that I am, my time, my body, my mind is more superior than other people's. That brought arrogance, and that brought falsehood to my attitude towards life and towards other people who are no different than I am. They have their own situations and environments, but again, at the end, I needed to be level-headed. But I have to keep going back and back, keep reminding myself, like putting a benchmark. Let's say in 2010, I was at this kind of person. In 2015, my scale graded down, and 19, it even down, right? So if I look at that, I could what do you call that? When we draw the graph, I forgot, interpolate. Yeah. So if I interpolate the curve, I could easily see myself that I'm not that far enough. And if I look back, I've been into the dungeons of Mexico. I've been into those dark spots with dark people, either begging for sex, for drugs, for booze. And I have used with them, whatever. So it's not that far, right? It's just a matter of time I would get there. So that actually brought more fear in me. And that's the first rational fear I had, which is positive fear that, no, I don't want to get there. No. First of all, for myself, for my wife, and for my kids. And secondly, I needed to do something to help all other people as well. That's what's the power of this step 12. I don't know how. I don't know. I had this urge that when I got sober, I really wanted to help the whole world get sober. I don't know where is that. It could be a spiritual thing, but again, that was a really positive thing that brought a lot of humility and my relatedness with everybody in the group, rather not based on what kind of car they drive, not based on what kind of clothes they do or not. Of course, if they are smelling bad and drinking still, I want to distance with them. I'm not gonna, But the point is, I see them as humans. I help them, and because I've been in that spot. And it's empathy that drives here, not just intelligence, because I know I've been there. My wife has picked me up in such situations where she will be ashamed to pick me up or even see somebody else in that state, right? I've been. So for me, it was just learning from my own experience and trying to see everybody as a human, as one species, sharing the same law of nature, sharing the same genome, it's same. We're all little kids, grow up into different environment and deep in different situations. Lucky are we that we found AA, and lucky are we that we found the root cause of the problem, the ego, the self-centeredness, the false pride, and thank you, right? I think so. Now I do not do that, but originally, yes, I'm not them, but now I do relate with everyone, and I do not just feel pity, but I feel I empathize with them. I really want to help them, but again, another thing is that I said is I can only help those who want to help themselves, right? So I don't want to become a god or higher up anybody else, but yes, the help is here. The decision is personal that we need to seek that help or not.
I love it. Thank you, Nick. All right, let's close this up. Thanks again, Nick. That was a great RECO12 weekly speaker meeting for all addicts and those wanting to learn more about addiction and the recovery therefrom. If we didn't get to your question, or if you have other questions, please go to RECO12.com/forum and join in our community to ask those questions and answer others' questions that will come up. I invite the audience to come back next week. If you have not yet gone to RECO12.com and submitted your email address, please get on the invitation list so you can join us live each Friday at noon Central Time. Come back next week for a powerful speaker meeting that is one that was a great lesson for me. So way back in March on meeting number 39, we had an amazing speaker, a man who gave up his anonymity and goes by his full name, Michael Brody Waite, who just blew the live audience away with his experience, strength, and hope. As soon as the meeting was over, I felt sick that I hadn't hit record in that meeting. Thankfully, Michael agreed to record again with us, and that's happening this next week. You will not want to miss this one. He will be speaking on the benefits of living life like a drug addict in recovery. It is powerful. Do not miss it. All right. Now let's launch off into the rest of our day with the 7-step prayer that Nick is happy to give for us. Have at it, Nick.
Thank you, Justin. This prayer is step 7 prayer, where humbly asking God to remove my shortcomings, my character defects. It's very important to me because I learned the missing piece was to have full recovery or no recovery. There is no half measures in between. So if I agree or to keep any of my character defect, if I'm not gonna let go of them, I will think and act based on them, and then the spiritual malady will stay with me, and that psychic change that has happened will lapse. My old behaviors, my old coping mechanism will start manifesting in my life, my behavior, and then sooner or later, I'm gonna act out, use a trigger, leading into the spree, the vicious cycle that I have been able to overcome. So for me was to either remove nothing from me or everything. So let's go with that. Let's have a moment of silence, and then I will start to do that prayer in my style that I used to do it. My Creator, I am now willing that you should have all of me, the good and the bad. God, I pray that you now remove from me every single defect of character. God, please remove my dishonesty, my immoral thinking, my sloth of mind. Remove my greed for unfulfilled desires. Remove my insecurities, my aggressiveness, my fears of unknown, of making hard decisions, loss of control. Please remove my unsolicited attraction to females, remove my selfishness and my impulsiveness, which stand in the way of my usefulness to you and to my brothers, my fellows in this world. God, grant me strength. God, please strengthen my honesty, my forgiveness, my unselfishness, my love, my tolerance, my chastity, my kindness, my purity, my contentment with life as it is. And give me courage to stop striving for these worldly desires of flesh and mind. Instead, strengthen my humility and finally my faith in you as I go out from here to do your bidding. Amen.
Amen. I loved that, Nick. I loved it. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you once again. Come back, everybody. Keep coming back. It works if you work it. So work it. You are worth it.
Standing still a moment, carving out this time, reflecting on the landscape of this life of mine. Peaks too high to conquer, streams too wide to cross, troughs too deep to walk through without incurring loss. Yet here I am, still standing tall, despite the rough terrain. One like me survived the storms and walked through wind and rain. Still standing, I will fight the good fight, still searching for a glimpse